I think that idea of a partnership is one that will allow that relationship to be more sustainable. So it's not just an individual, it's really a high-level university partnership. And it will also be, we hope, more embedded with the local community, with the local students and faculty at the university, with our own alumni and other community organizations.
You're listening to Speaking of Language, a podcast recorded at the Language Resource Center at Cornell University. Each week, we explore a topic related to language pedagogy and second language acquisition. This week, on Speaking of Language,
we learn all about Cornell's new collaborative interdisciplinary initiative with partners around the world, Global Hubs.
Welcome to a new episode of Speaking of Language. I'm Angelica Kramer, the director of the Language Resource Center at Cornell University.
And I'm Sam Lupowitz, the LRC's media manager. Today, we're going global.
We will talk about Cornell's new global hubs with our colleagues Wendy Wolford, Beatty Riedl, Sebnem Ozkan, and Cindy Tarter.
Welcome to Speaking of Language, Wendy, Rachel, Sebnem, and Cindy.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Before we hear all the exciting details about the new Global Hubs initiative, let's start by having each of you briefly introduce yourself. Tell us what your role is with the Global Hubs and what your background with languages looks like. Wendy, why don't you get us started?
Thanks so much, Angelica and Sam, and thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here. I wish the audience could be in the studio with us because it's quite a fun time. So my name is Wendy Wolford. I am a faculty member in Cornell's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in the Department of Global Development. And I have been the Vice Provost of International Affairs since before the pandemic, so BTP, roughly 4 years ago. I think, I've always loved languages. I took Latin as a small child all the way through middle school and high school. I draw my line from that point to vice provost through being a cocktail waitress in Italy for a year before I went to college. So Italian is maybe one of my favorite languages, but I have worked in Brazil and Mozambique for years and years and also love Portuguese. So can I kick it over to Cindy?
Hi, everyone, and thank you as well. And I'm so excited to be here. My name is Cindy Tarter, and my position at Cornell is Senior Associate Director of Education Abroad, and that's in our Office of Global Learning. And what that means is that I support and lead our study abroad side for the university. I see my role with Global Hubs as distinctly to support the student experience. So thinking about the mobility side, and again, moving those pieces forward. And it's an extremely exciting initiative for all of us in mobility at the university. My relationship to language, just in brief, I was very privileged to grow up in Haiti. And so my parents spoke French and Haitian Creole to us all the time, and we were exposed to it pretty regularly. They would talk in French at the dinner table, when they didn't want my brothers and I to know what they were scheming. So that was a great exposure to language too. Later, as a postgraduate and a graduate student, I lived and worked in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I had the opportunity to learn a lot of Kiswahili. And how it's spoken in those regions and why, and which has so many cultural and historical layers. And if I look back at my own language experiences, I think of Kiswahili as really my most recent and fundamental grounding in a language. I'll pass over to Rachel.
Thanks so much for having us on. It's great to be here with everyone. I'm Rachel Beatty Riedl. I'm the director of the Enaudi Center for International Studies at Cornell and also a professor in the Department of Government in the College of Arts and Sciences and in the new Brooks School of Public Policy. My role in our global hubs that we'll be talking about today is connecting our faculty across campus to our partner institutions across the world, and hopefully helping to plan collaborative research projects, catalyze relationships in which we can co-program and have new and interesting academic events according to themes and questions of interest. So it's really a great and exciting opportunity for faculty as well as students, undergrads and graduate students alike, to get involved. My pathway, I would say, through language has shaped everything that I've done. Since starting to learn French, I think at kind of a late stage in terms of starting in high school, I was able to study abroad in Senegal during my junior year of college. And so the language really shaped in part the destination because I was able to take my classes in French. And that was really instructive. But even more instructive was the opportunity to be around fellow students, friends, peers who were so multilingual. The number of languages my fellow students in Senegal spoke was truly amazing, and the fluidity with which they could change from one language to another. And I had there also the opportunity to learn Wolof. So that was definitely an interesting language experience, and one that has really shaped my research and my interest in how language allows us to communicate. And Sebnem.
Thank you, Angelica and Sam, for this invitation. It's wonderful to be here with you. My name is Sebnem Ozkan, and my position is Associate Director of Global Hubs. And I'm responsible for coordination and operations of the initiative. And as you can imagine, there are various moving parts to Global Hubs. So my job is really to hold it all together and make sure that everything aligns with each other. It is such an exciting and innovative initiative. I love the fact that it's this multi-dimensional and holistic approach to global partnerships. So my background in languages, well, I grew up in Turkey, so I'm a native speaker of Turkish, which is a fun language to learn. I hear from others. But I speak English. I was exposed to English at a very early age. I went to a school, middle school and high school, where the entire education was in English. So we were really immersed in the language. And then I tried German a little bit and failed miserably. I tried to pick it up a couple of times, but just didn't work. So I'm going to stick with English. But I've always also wanted to learn Spanish. So that's a goal, like a personal goal for myself, that maybe I'll finally get to do it at Cornell. So that's my language background. But I've also worked in national resource centers and collaborated a lot with language resource centers in my professional life, and have engaged in a lot of advocacy work for advanced language learning in the US. So very dear to my heart, language education.
Terrific. So, the Global Hubs are a new and innovative model for sustained interdisciplinary collaboration in locations worldwide. They bring together faculty, students, alumni, public and private sector entities, and local communities for broad-reaching partnerships that combine research, learning, and engagement. So tell us, how and why did the Hubs come about? And Wendy, maybe you can get us started with that.
Sure, I'm writing that down. That was a mouthful. we are so excited about this and have been having so much fun because things are really building on each other in ways that are super productive. So thanks for that introduction. I would say the idea for the global hubs has been percolating for a number of years. It really is organic in the sense that it speaks to a number of different needs that have come up across the administration, across the colleges, across our conversations with faculty, and also with study abroad students and parents. So in a sense, it sort of has bubbled to the surface just in the past couple of years. I would say there are a handful of things that really did make it seem like this approach was necessary. And the first one is one that those of us in the international office sort of live and breathe, but I think is very much true more broadly, which is just the importance of international research, education, and engagement. If you're thinking about international problems, or even some of the biggest problems that we take on in this university, from climate change to resource scarcity to cultural ideas, these are ones that require international collaboration and partnership. So the first thing is the importance of international engagement. The second important thing, I think, is that the landscape of international higher ed has really been changing, and that over the past 10 or 20 years, you have the rise of increasingly excellent universities across the entire globe. Universities that in many cases have Cornell PhDs in their senior administration, presidents or department chairs, deans, etc. So there are a whole number of institutions for us to be partnering with. At the same time, you're seeing an increased level of regulation and just the set of bureaucracy and rules for a university like Cornell to be engaging overseas. So some kind of strategic orientation to the international landscape seemed increasingly necessary. Cornell, as many of you might know, is a university that's already very international, and our motto really to date has been anywhere, anytime. And so faculty and students are able to select and work on programs in any part of the world, and we want to maintain that, right? So we support that very much. But in looking out overseas, we thought this was a good time to be strategic about choosing a handful of places where we can deepen our relationships. And we do build long-term partnerships with peer universities across the planet. So that's what the global hubs are. They're meant to be these strategic, mutually beneficial exchange partnerships with peer universities. And I mean, my colleagues here can speak to some of the advantages that they see. But I think that idea of a partnership is one that will allow that relationship to be more sustainable. So it's not just an individual, it's really a high level university partnership. And it will also be, we hope, more embedded with the local community, with the local students and faculty at the university, with our own alumni and other community organizations. We also are excited for the integration, as Cindy said, of research students, so students, faculty, and partners and alumni. So it's not just student mobility, it's not just faculty. You really do see in these sites the coming together of Cornell's whole mission.
And you know, Wendy, if I can add to what you just said, anytime, anywhere, in any language.
That's right.
That's what we would like to see, you know,
Right.
further down the road. That would be most amazing.
Well, that's one of the key hopes for the hubs, is that we can provide that sort of language support. So
Yeah.
whether it's through shorter courses that can help get students to these sites, you know, when they might have a fear that they need to be completely fluent before going to Ecuador or Mexico or another location. In fact, if we can help them feel comfortable and then they can really learn the language while embedded with local students, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are these hubs located, the ones that are already in existence?
So to Wendy's point about the diversity of language opportunities for language learning and geographic scope, we're really excited to be thinking about our global hub partners across the world, including Australia, China, Ecuador, Ghana, India, Mexico, Singapore, South Korea, Thailand, United Kingdom, and Zambia. So tons of really fantastic options for our students to have a variety of different experiences and with really covering the range of disciplines and potentials to engage across different types of university programs.
It's wonderful.
It really is this hopefully diversification of locations, because the vast majority of our students have tended to go to the UK and Australia, which, Angelica, maybe speak different languages, but for the most part are English speaking. So we're really hoping that students will feel comfortable going to Latin America and sitting in some classes where English is spoken, but also really immersing into the local languages.
One of the other routes, just to build on that, the ways in which I really think the Global Hubs ties into language learning opportunities is that because there are such a variety of entry points, students are going to be able to come into a Global Hub experience with different basis of language experience thus far. And we really hope that these types of experiences, as potentially a research assistant for a joint collaborative research project between faculty members at Cornell and the hub location, or in an internship with our local partners that allows for sustained engagement year after year, or shorter term class study tour extensions, that those kind of different models of entry can really jumpstart students' interest in language learning and push them along so that when they come back to campus, not only do they have even more appetite for what we might call traditional study abroad experiences, but also to really want to enroll in more language classes on campus as well.
Nice.
The only thing I would add, just building on what Rachel has said, is that students at Cornell, when they study abroad, they have to take a language course if they're studying abroad in a country where English is not the national language or not a national language. So in addition to existing language immersive programming that our office currently offers, Global Hub sites will meet this university-wide expectation, and several will go beyond that. And I think there are multiple courses that really directly engage language and culture. And I know that piece is so critical, right? When you think about that intersection to what these sites can bring. So there are integrative opportunities to engage with local communities, research stations, homestays, internships. I'm thinking of USFQ in Ecuador, where a student can spend a semester at a research field station on the Galapagos in San Cristobal, and really deeply engage in language and research, where students can study in Quito, where they have more language learning to really enhance their level, right? And I think that's an interesting piece in terms of curricular areas. For the experiential, the hands-on, the applied experiences, our partners in Sydney and UK have internship opportunities where the student is integrating with local organizations or businesses. And the richness of that experience on the cultural angle, and where that connects to language. We've sent students in the past to University of Sydney for internship experiences, and they have a course that students have to take as part of that experience about Sydney work culture. And I've had students come back from Australia and say, my God, I'm seeing my whole Cornell experience from a different lens when I think about the way that my mates in Australia see their workday fundamentally different than how I've learned I'm supposed to be based on what my parents do, based on what my expectations are at Cornell. They've come back more equipped to sort of manage that experience. So all those outcomes from that rich language and cultural intersection, I think, will absolutely be built into these global hub experiences, as well as build upon the language learning that students, I think, are seeking at Cornell and will be able to find there.
So, can you tell us a bit about what kinds of interdisciplinary projects are in the works or coming down the pike?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that one of the things that I find incredibly exciting about the global hubs is the way they allow us to connect across the world, truly, on interdisciplinary thematic topics that take up big questions that we need to be answering together, questions of our time. And so we are right now in what I might call the kind of brainstorming with our partners across the world phase of this. And we're doing so by holding a series of salons this spring semester on topics that we think we have particular strength in across colleges and schools at Cornell, and that our partners also have expressed interest in. And so we're hosting these salons on a variety of topics, and I'm just going to mention a few of them here and encourage listeners to join in and tune in if they're interested. So some of those that are happening according to topic, one that I'm really excited about is one on inequalities and social justice, for example. We have a variety of different viewpoints and perspectives, from law to computer science and information to the humanities, taking part in that topic. We also are building upon the strength of our Global Grand Challenge here at Cornell, the Migrations Initiative topic, to connect with our colleagues across the hubs on migrations and mobility, including human migration, but also including the migration of plants and animals, microbes, and the like. We have an upcoming topic on big data, AI, and new media. So a ton of opportunity here for connection from folks in the social sciences to the tech side to communication, education, and the like, to think about what are the opportunities and the challenges with AI and new media. We also have a focus on One Health, thinking about from our strength in nutritional sciences to agriculture, public and ecosystem health, of course, bringing in our colleagues at Cornell Weill Medicine to bring their expertise to bear. We have two topics on sustainability, one on sustainable agri-food systems and development, another on sustainable infrastructure and energy. And here we're tapping into our colleagues at the Atkinson Center, as well as applied economics, global development, anthropology, engineering, city and regional planning. So really spanning the breadth of Cornell's expertise. And we have a really exciting salon that we've already hosted. You can see the recording online on future cities. This topic also really brought up some interesting intersections with people looking at aging in place and in cities, infrastructure, absolutely, tying back into sustainability and sustainable design, as well as social scientific and humanistic perspectives on what it means to think about cities of the future. So those are some really fantastic and interesting conversations, and I think are just beginning to demonstrate what's possible with these global hub partnerships.
Yeah. And I've attended some of these salons, and it's really been so fascinating and exciting and interesting to see the intersection. Everybody is passionate about their field, but to see where all of those connections actually lie and the potential that that has for learning, for teaching, for research, it's really wonderful. I really can't wait to see where these global hubs are headed. This is a very exciting time.
And it's neat to see faculty jump in the Q&A on the salons and say, "But I really think we should explore this topic," and you get a whole conversation going.
Yeah. Wonderful. Sebnem, where can our listeners find out more about the global hubs?
Well, we have a wonderful web page that we post all sorts of relevant information, and that can be reached at global.cornell.edu/global-hubs. So please go to our Global Hubs webpage to get more information about the themes, specific hubs, and salons.
Great. Well, it's been lovely to talk to the four of you about this. But before we sign off, we'd like to ask each of you to share a word in a language you speak, love, are learning, want to learn, that makes you laugh. So let's hear it. And Wendy, I'll let you start again.
Okay, this is odd. I became really attached to all of the unques in Italian. So Kiyunque, whoever, Kumunque, it's fantastic. So sort of ever attached to a bunch of different words.
I like that. Rachel, what's your word?
Well, one of my favorite phrases or word in Wolof is namanala, which is a way of saying goodbye. I missed you. It's a way of saying I missed you, but it translates as I was nostalgic for you. And I always think that's such an interesting way of phrasing it because one could miss someone and not be nostalgic, or one could be nostalgic for a certain moment of life without necessarily reference to that person. So I just think it's a beautiful way of telling someone that you miss them, and a great phrasing.
Rachel, that's like saudades in Brazilian Portuguese, which means that same sense of nostalgia or missing about anything, a person, a place, a thing. But it's very hard to express fully in English.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cindy, what about you?
Yeah, actually connecting a little bit to Rachel and Wendy, in Swahili, there's a phrase that is tuku pamoja, which means we are together. And you see it used in many ways. You see it in these crazy church services, right, as an expression of faith. But you also often say that to a friend or another colleague when you're separating, right? And it's very much that sense of, even though we are not in each other's presence, we are still together. It's also a form of unity behind a project or an effort. So I love tuku pamoja. I also like pole pole, which means slowly in Swahili, and it's just a lovely word, also used in many ways. Pole pole.
Nice. I think we need to keep that in mind. Everything that you've talked about for the Global Hubs just makes my head spin, so maybe you need to take it easy here. Sebnem, what's your word?
I don't necessarily love this word, but I'm going to use it just to illustrate a point about the intricacies of Turkish language. Let me say the word first, and it's really a one-word sentence, and it goes like this. Çemişkezeklileştiremediklerimizden misiniz? Which is a one word, but it's a sentence. And it just illustrates the point that Turkish there's a word for it, agglutinative language. So you can really make words just, adding suffixes and communicate really complex, concepts by making a single word. And the word that I picked it's a joke, it's a running joke in Turkish. Çemişkezek is the name of a town, and we picked that word because it's already a long word. And the one word sentence that I just used can't be translated into English as, are you one of those people whom we could not turn into a Çemişkezekian? Which is ridiculous, but you can, express that concept in a single word. And this kind of, this fact about the language can be used really to hide some sort of like crucial elements of a sentence to the last moment, which really makes interesting conversations. So you kind of need to be really tuned into the facial expressions of the person that you are speaking to, because you wouldn't know whether it's a sentence, it's a question, is it negative, positive, until you come to the end of the sentence, which always makes me laugh.
I think you should reconsider picking up German again, because German has that tendency too, right? I mean, we build sentences or words that are,
yes,
umpteen letters long, which never would fit in your wordle. But...
Right. And that's what tricked me, Angelica. I thought I could learn German easily because it's so similar to Turkish that way, but I was wrong.
That's too funny. Well, thank you so much for speaking of language with us today, Wendy, Rachel, Sebnem, and Cindy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll be back next time with more guests and more of what's happening in world languages. Until then...
Auf Wiederhören!
The Language Resource Center is located on the ground floor of Stimson Hall on Cornell's main campus in Ithaca, New York. Check us out on the web at lrc.cornell.edu
or follow Cornell LRC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Speaking of Language is produced by Angelica Kramer and Sam Lupowitz.
Recorded by Sam Lupowitz.
Original music by Sam Lupowitz, Dan Gable, and Joe Gibson.
Thanks also to the College of Arts and Sciences at Cornell University.
As a reminder, the ideas and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of the College of Arts and Sciences or any other official entity of Cornell University.
We thank our listeners, and do stay tuned for our next episode.